Do you think that you are fluent enough in your target language? And do you think the level you reached is high enough? I mean, if you consider the amount of time that you had spent in the past. So maybe you are not happy with your level, and that was exactly how I felt before April. And that's why I decided to start out with my Fluent podcast back in April. This episode is gonna be without a transcript, so I'm gonna rambling a little bit, while of course sometimes I will stop and record again, but it's simply anything that comes into my mind, and I will use this episode to make a kind of a wrap up of my Fluent podcast, meaning what I reached or what I was going about. So have fun with this kind of different episode of mine. So as I mentioned, I began in April, and I was really nervous at the beginning because I was not used at all to speak, but I mean, I could improve my speaking. I'm quite sure about that. And if you want, you can compare the very first episode with the last one, and you will be able to make out a difference. So I did different episodes, kind of. I was experimenting, or let's say I am still experimenting. Right now, my project goes rather into the interviewing thing. I met a great guy in my last episode called Guillaume, who is the inventor of the website talktolearn.ch. So it's not at all a monologue. My Fluent podcast is rather meant to connect with very enthusiastic people, which I could reach at this point. So for me, it is a real success until now. I can say that clearly, and it's just amazing how people reach out to you and you come into contact with different people from all over the world. And so basically, I gained a lot of experience with podcasting, and I just recommend all of you learners to start out with a podcast. I mean, you could just record yourself. You probably don't need to publish it, but I highly recommend to publish it because it kind of gives you an extra boost. And on the other side, you learn lots of things. I mean, I saw this by producing all these episodes. There is a lot of effort in it, which you can probably not see in the first glance. But for example, if you write down a transcript or if you transcribe a speech, that takes a lot of time, but at the same time you can probably learn from it, and so it was an amazing time until now, and I will continue with my podcast. And yes, I had about 1,400 people listening until now, so I am really happy about it. And let's see what the future brings. I had a few episodes back then in the beginning about Netflix and about learning with subtitles. I still think the method is really great, and I'd recommend you to have a listen at episode 4, for example, where I talk about making mistakes and how you can make the best out of mistakes. And then episode 5, read out loud. It's a classic in my opinion. It's always a good thing to read out loud, so you can learn how to pronounce words, and that will train your mouth muscles, and that way you will go forward. It just takes you to make things in a kind of different way. You know, I have seen that with myself, because I couldn't go forward with my speaking, so I had to change things up, and now I'm here, and I'm happy. I mean, I'm still an intermediate learner, but probably I'm now rather upper intermediate. So then I had an episode, for example, about audio drama for more fluency on episode 7, and that was about learning in your target language from an audio drama, meaning an audiobook which you can listen to, and at the same time you can put a bookmark so that it allows you to go back and listen to favorite parts of the audiobook, and then you can repeat it and say it out loud, and so on. So I had an episode, for example, episode 10, Poison Island. That is one of my favorite ones, where I read out loud from a book for LibriVox. That was just crazy. And then the interviewing thing started. I'm really happy about that and thrilled. So that's it. This was just kind of a rambling thing. I hope I did not bore you too much, and with this episode I just wanted to see if I am able to just speak without pausing every second, and yes, that was good, I think, and you will hear from me. I'm your host, Daniel Goodson. Have a good one.